Okay. Uh-oh, let me do this. Okay. We are rolling, everybody, but I'm just not doing this just yet. Let's see who's this. Okay. Hold on, let me see this. Okay, and let me see. Um, okay. All right, everybody, I'm going to go on and get started. Is that okay? In 10
Yes.
seconds. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a joy to be with you as we talk about nonviolent resistance. Nonviolent resistance. Everyone is watching Chicago all over the country, all over the world, as ICE has been deployed, not in Chicago proper, but it's in the air. Well, ICE has been deployed here, but not the National Guard. The Illinois National Guard, who are the Texas National Guard, they're on standby until the case has been completely decided. But you know what? It's all in the air. And we need to talk about that because we're seeing a pastor, Pastor Black from First Presbyterian Church. He was shot in his head by pepper bullets. And we saw him crumble to the ground. It was heartbreaking to watch. We've had an alder here, a member of our city council, arrested. We have had a building raided. And when you went to the building on the south side of Chicago in the South Shore neighborhood, we were talking about that last week. It turns out that the building has been in a state of disrepair. Indeed, it was in foreclosure, and the people had been treated as if the building had been completely abandoned. Uh, Nothing was working in the building. People were living in squalor in that building. And so there's a story around that. People are afraid to take their children to school. They're seeing drones flying over the schools. It's frightening all of the children, and it's frightening the teachers and frightening the school community and the neighborhoods around the school. What is going on, and how do we deal with all of this? It's Chicago today, Portland tomorrow, and on and on and on it goes. And it might manifest differently, but what it is authoritarianism. What it is a police state. It is already here, everybody. What do we do about it? And do you recognize it? How do we handle this? Well, we're talking with Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch from New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church in Chicago, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, uh, and of course, the President Emeritus of the National Organization of Women, Civil Rights Attorney, Terry O'Neill. Let me start with you, Pastor Hatch. Um, this didn't happen on the west side in the city. This happened on the south side, but I don't think it really matters. It happened in the heart of the Black community, and many people are surprised uh, that happened. Indeed, you see a lot of influencers in social media who are saying, "Well, this is Black people are still not the targets." Well, actually, in the building, most of the residents of that building in South Shore in Chicago were African Americans. And you also had Mexican migrants, you had Venezuelan migrants, and you had Nigerian migrants. But now people have gone home to apartments that have been destroyed. People are looking for places to live in a city that is increasingly unaffordable. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unpack. And every time you see someone, I have to ask them, do you have any ID? Make sure you have it. Make sure you have it. And you need to know how you're supposed to behave with ICE because they're not the police. You don't even get Miranda with them. There's a whole lot, Attorney Terry O'Neill. I've got to ask you about that because, just how are we supposed to conduct ourselves with masked people who shoot pastors, who shoot a man in a collar, a clerical collar, and they're laughing as they're shooting at him? Who does that? What is going on here? What is
Well,
going on here?
I mean, Santita, ICE has a real problem right now with its personnel. It has received literally billions of dollars from Congress under the big ugly bill that was recently passed, and they are ramping up um, hiring enormously. They are not vetting the people that they hire. They are not training the new people that they hire. The president has the DHS, which is actually an umbrella for like dozens. I mean, maybe not dozens, but a large number of agencies with some kind of immigration and customs enforcement authority. ICE is one of those agencies. There's a bunch of them, and ICE in particular is as being ramped up too quickly. It doesn't have good management. It doesn't have good employees. It doesn't have trained employees. There's very little discipline. When the ICE raided that apartment in Chicago, one witness said that that one of the ICE agents said something like, "F those children that were taken out and zip tied together." This is basically a thug army that has been created because Donald Trump and his administration, in particular, the known Nazi affiliate Stephen Miller, has demanded quotas for picking up quote unquote unauthorized immigrants and shipping them out of the country. There aren't that many that are actual criminals. There just aren't, right? People, immigrants in this country are far less likely statistically to be engaged in criminal activity than citizens of America are. So they can't get actual criminals to round up, and they are instead using racial profiling, which the Supreme Court recently said, okay, they can continue using racial profiling to sweep people up, and do this. It is brutalizing, and there is some information that I've seen that indicates that this particular raid, Santita, on this apartment building
Mm-hmm.
may be linked to a bank foreclosure.
Yes,
The
yes.
bank wanted those people out of the building because it's easier to foreclose the building and sell it, clean it up and sell it as an asset with the people gone. So there's some suggestion, and we know that Trump is very corrupt. We know that he does deals, he likes to do deals, and we know that he's extremely racist. He doesn't care about the welfare of people who might be living in this building. So there's a very large likelihood of ICE being utilized for corrupt purposes precisely because they're hiring too many people too fast and not training them.
18-year-old. I realized you can enlist in the armed forces at 18,
Right. That's right.
but to they're not even policing the streets. I mean, this is our streets are being used as training grounds for the military. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. And yes, and our police systems around the country, and the militarization of our police systems has unfortunately been going on since the 1990s.
yeah.
It ramped up dramatically after 9/11 in the early 2000s. But the militarization, the sale of military equipment to police forces began in the 1990s.
Well, I mean, and they're being trained in Israel, where
Yeah.
they're trained to occupy,
Yes.
which is a whole different, I
Yes.
would say, different mentality, right?
Yeah,
That
and to view the people who live there as the enemy. Right, the enemy combatants. This is what the soldiers who were when George W. Bush lied us into a war in Iraq. The soldiers were trained to view ordinary people living in their homes in Baghdad and other cities and towns across Iraq as the enemy. Yeah, is an
that's,
occupying force.
and that's not unusual, uh, Pastor Hatch, in the Black American experience, unfortunately. But it appears that we are now living under occupation. Tell me, what is your sense of things now? Because we are watching the court cases that are proceeding, and it's very discomforting. It's very discomforting because even uh, these the judges don't quite know, how to handle this. I mean, these members have been the members of the guard have been deployed, but they're basically being held in abeyance because of the federal judge blocked the administration's request to deploy the National Guard, saying that there's no danger of a rebellion to justify it. And this is what she wrote. And she said that the Guard would only, quote, add fuel to the fire. She said that the National Guard may stay in the state, however, under federal control, but they cannot be deployed while the case continues. But they're still sitting here. They're still sitting here, Pastor Hatch, and we're seeing ICE all over Chicago, not just Chicagoland, but Chicago proper. Pastor Hatch.
Yeah, well, it's doing what it was designed to do. They got $75 billion in the big beautiful bill to expand the operations of ICE, and they're targeting you know communities that first of all have large numbers of people that they think they want to round up that may be undocumented. But I think all of us suspect that it's going to spill over into, a, a terrorizing, um, militarized unit against the black community. That's going to happen with things going in the direction that they're in. And of course, what happened in the building in South Shore was just simply, the tip of the iceberg of what we can expect eventually. And I suspect that, they're going to wait the courts out. The National Guard supposedly are going to be deployed to protect ICE. And then at that point, you're going to have really an occupied military force in civilian communities in America. And so this is going in the way I think that they planned it to go. And they're anticipating some reaction that at some point is going to further justify, more resources coming into these communities to socially control and to tamp down. So we're just moving in a very dangerous direction in this country. I think we, have to be smart, and people must think strategically. We cannot afford to have the midterm stolen, and we have to keep our eyes on what it means to mobilize the vote and then protect the vote, so that we at least have one of the houses of Congress to fight back with.
I went to one of the conversations with Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, yesterday, and I couldn't help but think about the 1.5 million votes that separated her and the president. I mean, we read this, or certainly it's been portrayed in the corporate media as this massive mandate. That's not what it was. And
No.
she put it so well. She said, I got about 77 million, a little more than that in terms of votes. He got about 78.5 million. That's not a large margin. And then 90 million did not vote. So you're almost splitting the pie into thirds, right? And when I tell you, she had a crowd, okay? She had a crowd. The auditorium theater, which seats several thousand people, was packed to the rafters. So don't let anyone tell you
Mm.
that Vice President Harris does not have a crowd. Don't let anyone tell you that. They can put all these people here, but I mean, and now that she's had her say, you can see that she was really in a vice. And look, she took the shot. How many times do you get the opportunity to run for president? as the front runner and as the nominee of the party. But keep it 100, okay? She
Mm.
took a shot. She took what was given her. What was she supposed to do? Step back after being vice president, having absorbed a lot of insult from inside of the tent. She paid a price to be there now.
Mhm.
Let's be really, really clear because she was dealing with people who were hostile to her. And now you know it. Now you know it's true.
Mm.
Yes, and yeah, and I am in my feelings about it. The more I thought, I mean, I really, just really, we let's be. All I'm asking for is fairness. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and we welcome you to the show, Dr. Amar. What do you make of this? I mean, you are a lawmaker.
Right.
I had to kind of hold up because you all do it big in Texas, but you know how we are in Chicago. Are you number one? I have several questions to ask of you. What do you make of how the National Guard are being held in abeyance in Chicago? What do you make of ICE being deployed in Chicago and what they're doing? What do you make of that?
Well, I can tell you, first of all, I couldn't agree more with the pastor and Terry O'Neill's comments. I think they are both spot on. I would echo the sentiments that they laid out. And I would only add to it that this is the way I think Trump envisions America. This is his implementation of Project 2025. This is his way of weaponizing the National Guard, ICE, and just like he's doing with the Justice Department to, air his grievances through his revenge prosecutions. This is his playbook. He believes that the Constitution does not apply to him, that he's above the law. And based on the Supreme Court unfortunately giving him king-like almost immunity, he feels untouchable. And so this unfortunately is causing havoc upon marginalized communities, particularly Latinos, African Americans, the poor, immigrants, and it is unfortunate that many people are just their silence is complicity. They are not saying much because they are fearful that he'll come after them. They say, well, now they're going to have more examples. Well, look at what he did to Letitia James. Look at what he did to Comey. I don't stand a chance. He's the former FBI director. She's the current sitting attorney general. So I think we as a collective have to say, you know what, this is not right. And one person can't do it alone. It is even more compelling if members of the Republican Party grow a spine and push back. I
Mhm.
don't know if we'll see that, but Santita, that we desperately need it because we are going so far into a constitutional crisis that I don't even know how we're going to get out of it. Right? We have to win the midterms, but if we don't, God help us, because I think we're headed for a holdover president that declares martial law and says there won't be an election. I do believe that that is what we're leading up to. And so the
But, but,
more
but
happens,
hold
the
hold
more
that thought.
carnage. Yeah.
Hold that thought because
Mhm.
when as I listened to Vice President Harris yesterday,
Yes.
and I thought about the 90 million people who did not vote, because the 155 million who did were not crazy about the choices. You know,
Right. Right.
um, maybe I mean, and we're getting our backs pushed up against the wall. Maybe that's going to stir people to act. I mean, I can see an upside, quite frankly, to all of this, um, because I'm not going to beat up on the American voter or the American public because we've been disappointed and we have been misled. We've been lied to Let's be honest about that. So we don't have faith in any of our major institutions. So we are really in crisis anyway. I mean, we got to be perfectly honest about this. We don't trust the media, the corporate media. We
Mhm.
don't trust any branch of government. You don't trust the medical establishment. I mean, the establishment is in trouble. And so they're clamping down on the people. So, my question then becomes, as we are looking at all of that, maybe people will really push back. Because remember, this is a country born of revolution, Representative Reynolds.
That's correct.
You know, I mean, I just, so I'm just wondering because I don't think that all hope is lost. I think it's going to be very tough. I think it is going to be very tough because we are in a tough way. I mean, when we talked about this before, we sounded like conspiracists.
Correct. We
I mean,
did. We sure
God,
did.
God bless Dwight McKee. Everybody
Yes,
thought
he
that he
was
was
saying it.
he was
Listen,
saying it. You know,
listen,
right?
listen. I was one of those doubters. Like, come on, Dwight, you crazy? Don't, Dwight, stop peddling those conspiracy theories, man. I want to tell Dwight, brother, you were ahead of the curve. Okay,
And-
you were what they say, Nostradamus. Doc. I mean, I was like, man, come on, Dwight, man, get out of here. Now it's like, well, dang, Dwight, man, you were very clairvoyant. So
what?
I'll say this, Santita,
Mm-hmm.
is that my concern is being out there in the trenches in the community. People are beat down. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much apathy. People are just they feel deflated. They don't really see. Well, first of all, the two things they feel overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and what we see is almost like a shock and awe. I mean, there's been so much that he's put on us in a short period of time. It's hard to grasp it. It really is. And then you couple that with people not seeing enough fight from the Democrats. It's a recipe for, well, I'll just keep my I'll just stay home, and I'm just gonna whether just hunker down and just focus on me. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that elections. What difference do it make anyway? Because the Democrats, they ain't fighting, they ain't doing nothing. When they had the presidency, what did they do? They didn't do this and they didn't do that. And to some degree, they're right. Because I can tell you when President Trump was able to push for this ceasefire and this peace agreement, I said, "Damn it, why couldn't Biden do that?" That was. I mean, honestly, I'm just being transparent with you. When President Trump pushes all of these things, I said, "Well, why couldn't Obama and Biden do that? Why we could have had the voting rights if Trump wanted the voting rights, if he wanted, he would have it." And so I can understand the frustration of many people. Why don't we have the the George Floyd Policing Act? Why don't we have the John Lewis, Federal Voting Rights Act? Why don't we have this increase in the minimum wage? Because Trump got his big, beautiful. Well, it's beautiful to him. It's ugly to me, but he got it passed. He gets his judicial nominees. Why couldn't Obama get his judicial nominee, his Supreme Court justice? So Democrats aren't as strong as they need to be when faced with these type of fight or flight situations. And so I'm happy to see them fighting and putting their balls up in this, holding the line on this government shutdown for healthcare. But I just want to see. I think if people saw more fight in the Democrats, they will be more willing to say, you know what, I am looking forward to the next election. But right now, Santita, I just honestly I don't see it. And many black women who have been the backbone of the Democratic Party have been just kind of checked out. Like, they're still reeling this. You mentioned Kamala Harris, the letdown. They were the part of the 92%. They like, hey, y'all, see,
Mhm.
tell me how it's working out for y'all. We did our part. And they not really.
Oh, Representative Reynolds, what did you say? Black women did their part, and then, well, but it takes all of us, because even as with the Herculean effort exerted by Black women, um, the fact is 90 million people did not vote.
Right.
And so we have to look at that too. We have to look beyond this, beyond the current occupant of the White House. You have to look at the people who are around him who will be there once he's gone. You've got to look at Peter Thiel. You've got to look at Curtis Yarvin, whose philosophy is driving so much of this. You've got to look at Elon Musk and the chainsaw. I mean, you've got to look at these people who had a plan that actually go beyond President Trump, because JD Vance is their guy. We're not even paying attention to that. I mean, this is so much bigger than that guy or even that other guy. It's like,
So,
it's like the Wiz, the Wizard of Oz.
mhm.
When Dorothy got into that room, she said, "Oh my goodness, there's someone behind the curtain moving these levers."
Mhm.
And I've always asked us to find that, to really step down, I mean, step away and figure out who's behind the curtain, moving the levers, and what is it that they are looking to do.
So Santita,
Doctor,
can I jump in a little bit here?
yes, of course.
And sorry for being late. I'm so happy that I didn't get stopped in traffic because I was making sure to get here today.
Bless your heart.
But I want to add at this point that there's a distinct difference between what's happening in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. For better or for worse, and I'm on the side of feeling, as many people do, that it's for worse. Um, the Republican Party tapped into what their people wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then they began to take some control over the levers by which they could feed that information to their people at a higher frequency. They created more demand for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they started by saying, we know that this is what this group of people want, and we will deliver. The Democrats don't do that. The biggest problem that I have, as I consider myself to be a former Democrat, a current independent. The biggest problem that I have with the Democratic Party is they don't listen to us.
Right.
You know, there were a number of issues that people were out clamoring in the streets about that the Democrats didn't give one word to. There were a number of things that people wanted in this country, and the Democrats are busy very frequently kind of playing to the donor crowd or playing to some sort of centrist idea that they have. The population, the voting population, did not have very centrist feelings in 2024. They didn't have a feeling that, well, we should all just find a good spot in the middle where we can agree on things like, genocide, how bad should it be?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot that they wanted, right? Um, People don't want to hear this mealy mouthed approach. I think that one of the things that happened this time around that has changed in at least the approach that we're getting from Democrats in the Senate is that they were royally whopped after the last time that they capitulated and gave in too easily. And so it's not actually that they're simply standing up for us because they picked up a backbone. They're beginning to listen to the people, because until this republic truly is stripped away from us, it's still the people that go in and vote.
Yeah.
And people need to understand that right now, it's not just that, oh, it's your local congressman and they've got to run for their seat. It's all of them. All of them run every 2 years. If you don't like what's happening, if you think the vast majority of them should be gone, get out there and vote them out. Don't make such a big deal over
some of the things that maybe are never going to change immediate. Be realistic about your demands as an electorate, but don't let go of the principles that you expect your elected officials to uphold. Because if we on the left, and even the central left, if we on the left can just hold the line, as well as our fellow citizens on the right, and if our elected officials and the planners in the DNC, and yes, the donors, if they begin to listen to the people will come out and vote. They stayed home because there were no good choices. That's what that whole thing was.
And that's always been the case, though. I mean, that's what they did. Look, the Republicans listened. They did not like Donald Trump, but the
Mhm.
people did. So they
Mhm.
went with him. They said,
Mhm.
I'm holding my nose. I'm going to vote.
Mhm.
What the Democrats decided to do was bury Bernie Sanders,
Mhm.
who the data shows could have not only given Trump a run for his money, he could have won,
Yes.
but they didn't want him.
Yes.
Okay. That's what we do all the time. Marjorie Taylor Greene she is feeling her base. She's
Mhm.
doing what they said Trump went in to do. She said, look, let me tell you something. She said this. I saw this in an interview with Steve Bannon.
Mhm.
He said, well, that's right. President Trump helped you to win. She said, no, 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 no,
Mhm.
no. He did not endorse me in the primary. I won this by myself. He endorsed me in the general. I
Mhm.
already had the nomination and I was on my way to getting my seat,
Mhm.
which has given her the justification now. She's gone, she knows whether she's read the tea leaves.
Yeah.
I mean,
She's freed herself.
but she walked in free. And when you look at her, she's been that way. I mean, and see, let me tell you something. I don't have to like everything you do. I don't like everything that I do.
Right.
I disagree with some thoughts I had last week. Okay. I've changed my mind about about a lot of things. That's just the way life is.
Mhm.
But I can respect someone who is going to represent the people that she said she was going to represent.
Yeah.
The people have said, look, all this money that you're spending overseas, enough. I need it right here. We have an epidemic of US farmers who are killing themselves right now.
Right.
No one is talking about that.
Right.
But these tariffs are killing them. And because they are losing their farms, they're killing themselves.
Mhm.
This is horrible. No one's talking about this.
Right.
I got people sitting over there. I mean, I said they're in the Middle East today. I got Zelensky saying, "Oh, I could have, I would vote for him to get the Nobel Peace Prize." I'm like, man, you haven't even had an election in years. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
This is crazy.
Mhm.
So stop. So we've got to. That's why I said I am hopeful. As crazy as this time is, number one, now Dwight McKee is not a conspiracist. He
Mhm.
is a prophet,
Mhm.
and not a prophet of doom. He just said, "Look, let me tell." He he has read history,
Mhm.
and so he understands. Wait a minute, this is what has happened, and this is where we're going. You need to understand who these people are. So while we are looking, and so in Chicago, what we have to do, because the country's looking at us and how we're handling this. I mean, I'm going to go out to Broadview, which is where
Mhm.
everybody is,
Mhm.
and I was talking with some big people in media, and some people are out there. They said, you need a gas mask because
Mhm.
there's so many chemicals in the air.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. Because several people said, I really don't think you need to go just for health reasons. I said, I want to go. If only to see it and to come back and tell you all what I saw.
Right.
Hold my low camera up and say, hey, this is what's going on.
You know,
Because
people are risking their
everything.
lives and their freedoms to go to the No Kings protest.
Yeah.
People are taking the risks. It's our government that continues to betray us in small ways that are no longer so small and have
But wait a
placed
minute,
the
but
public
Alia,
at risk.
they betrayed Dr. King.
Oh, I
They
agree.
betrayed JFK.
Mhm.
They betrayed RFK.
Mhm.
They betrayed Medgar.
Mhm.
They betrayed Malcolm. Come
Mhm.
on, we act as if this is something new. Look at what they did to Julian Assange.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we do, and everybody, open your eyes, wake up, smell the coffee. This is where we have been. Please don't tell me this is not who we are. That's a lie. This is who we've always been. Now
Mhm.
the question is this who we're going to be?
Well, that's a question that I think people should begin to kind of have those kitchen table. I was in a lovely discussion earlier today. It really fueled me, and I'm grateful to God that to have been able to have been there and heard words that made me feel hope,
Mm-hmm.
but also words that reminded me of our common responsibility to one another. Because you're right, we've been here many times in history, and what it has always taken is for us to remember quintessentially who we are and who we are in commonality to one another. We have to be able to see each other's humanity and see the humanity of people throughout the world, and then ask ourselves the broader questions of really, what do we want to do with this power that we've had as a global power? What do we want to do with this republic, with this form of government? And it's not going to happen while we scream and yell at each other online, and while we have these, you know, internet algorithms that are sending us just more
All they're
things from
doing
our
is
silo.
they're just surveilling you. Come on,
Yeah,
you guys.
but we're not going to change things, and the way that we
No, I'm saying
can at
I'm
that
saying in
individual
furtherance.
level.
I'm just saying
Mhm.
in furtherance of your point.
Oh, yes,
This
yes,
is
and I
this is
appreciate that.
this is everyone. Look, that's why I've never been that crazy about social media, because
Mhm.
I was very clear. While they were screaming about the Chinese and a social credit score, this
Yeah,
you have a social credit score in the United States.
yes, you do.
Okay, so we just need to just stop with all the pretense and deceit.
But sit down with your neighbor,
Yeah,
sit down with your neighbor, sit down with your friends, and actually have these broader conversations about what small actions you can take. I love Les Miserables so much. I've read the book in French and English several times. I have seen the production more times than I should admit, and I think I've watched almost every version of it that's ever been made into a movie.
it is
It's
great.
embarrassing how much I love Les Miserables. I'm bringing that up to say that in the production, there's a song where Javert, this little boy who's decided he's going to participate in the revolution, he sings a song about how this shows you what little people can do.
Mhm.
And he talks about how a worm could roll a stone, a bee can sting a bear, a fly
Mhm.
can fly around Versailles because flies don't care. A sparrow in a hat can make a happy home, and a bee could sting the bottom of the Pope in Rome, right?
That's right.
And so there's a little necessity for people who are looking at having their rights removed, people who are looking at living under tyranny and restriction, to not say, oh my God, that's so big, and we can't change it, and look at what'll happen, and say, you know what, I need to invite my neighbor over to dinner. I need to talk with some of my friends and family. We need to have discussions, not
Mhm.
about how bad it is, but how we are going to change it.
That's right. Because
And
my mother said
that's the
that
thing that they can't stop.
what
All the
she
money in the world can't stop all
it never
these
can.
people that will
In
do that.
in furtherance of your point, my mother said you all get together and you talk about little things.
Mhm.
We would get together and talk about big things, how we were going to change the world.
Yes.
My father always said, little people talk about other people. Medium-sized people talk about the things they have, the places they've been, what they wear. He said, big people talk about ideas.
Mhm.
And I think we're being pushed to that because now people are having their own civics lessons.
Mhm.
See, I'm not hopeless about this moment, Attorney
Me
Terry.
either.
John Holloman said he wants to hear some more facts from you. We
Mhm.
see what's happening, what's motivating it.
Mhm.
Interesting that that building was set up for foreclosure because there's a wonderful TikTok in which a gentleman by the handle of Aimless Photographer, he
Mhm.
goes through it. The building was in foreclosure,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's and now they can sell it for cheap. Maybe back to the people who were losing money on it. I don't
Mhm.
know. And that's why I gave you all the background on the neighborhood, because the neighborhood abuts what will be the Obama Center. It is complete.
Another interesting
It
place.
is literally 5 blocks from an 18 hole or two 9 hole golf courses. And
Mm.
it is on Lake Michigan. It is on the water.
Mm.
It was a restricted neighborhood until the mid 60s. It was a Jewish neighborhood.
Mm,
North Shore is WASP.
Mhm.
South Shore was Jewish.
Mhm.
mm,
Same mansions, many mansions on both sides of town.
Mhm.
Leopold Loeb lived over here on the south side in Hyde Park. It's the University of Chicago area.
right.
So when you look at a building like that, and you're like, wait, on South Shore Drive, yeah, South Shore Drive, people can walk out of their homes and walk about 5 or 6 blocks and be on the beach.
Hmm.
So with that context, because I mean, I'm feeling you, Dr. Amar.
Mhm.
Because the thing is, there are things that we can really be doing, and
Yeah.
we need to do that right now. It's and because it's not the song "Ordinary People." God uses ordinary people. He
Yes.
uses people just like me and you who are willing to do everything that he commands. He
Yes.
uses people who will give their all, no matter how small your all may seem to be,
Mhm.
because little becomes much when you place it in the master's hand.
Yes.
Dr. King was looking for another life,
Mhm.
and he
Hmm.
found the big life. It didn't have money in it, but oh, he was doing God's will.
Yeah.
And you can just keep on going with that. And
Hmm.
maybe that's what, as we look at Les Miserables, as we look at these wonderful stories,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, people can see the greatness in the little things that they can do. The little drummer boy, right?
And that's what changes.
Yeah.
That's the true power of the people. Let me tell you, freedom of speech is the scariest thing on the earth because government after government after government had made sure for millennia that people couldn't say what they thought. There are countries right now where you are restricted from having gatherings of more than 3 people without a government permit because free speech, free thought, ideas, the exchange of ideas, well, that's power. And
Hmm.
it's power that is outside of what we are being programmed to. It is outside of the influence of all that Citizens United money that got flooded in. When a person that you trust or love says to you, something's deeply wrong here, and we can't just sit to the side, we need to do something, and it could be small. You might feel that you could do absolutely nothing at all, but you talk with a few of your friends and you're like, you know what, no kings, they're having a no kings protest on the 18th, we should go to that. You might feel too afraid to go. I don't want to leave my house. ICE might be out there.
That's
But
right.
you go over to your friend's house to have dinner, right? And at your friend's house, you get a sense of normalcy in the insanity. In the midst of chaos, you found your little space. And in that space, you cultivate your power. So when you hear things about, oh, the Insurrection Act might be used to put more soldiers on the street, we might have to use that act then to clamp down. Donald Trump had he had a Freudian slip the other day, and he said, well, people were saying a lot of things that we didn't agree with, and so we clamped down. We eliminated freedom of speech. We took that away. And it was like, no, that hasn't
No,
happened yet.
but
Is
no,
that in your discussions right now?
but
Yeah.
no, but Alia, I've never known freedom of speech. Like I've never known democracy. I mean, my father and mother worked for a man who had his neck blown off,
Mhm.
speaking freely about ending war. I mean, that's
Hear
all
you.
I've ever known. All I've ever known has been harassment. I
Mhm.
want to get to freedom of speech. I want to have a democracy. No,
I
I'm
agree
willing
with
to.
you
I
there.
want. No, no, I know. Oh, I think we're in agreement. But I'm just saying, I want us to just keep it 100 right now.
But you know
Because
what,
we-
Santita, the uniqueness of your
I, you know, but
experience.
let me say I've
Mhm.
never felt safe.
Of
Because I,
course you haven't.
well, no, because I have always known freedom fighters. And the
Yeah.
freedom fighters I remember when Decima Williams used to stay with us. Who was she? She
Mhm.
was the ambassador from Grenada.
Mhm.
She'd come to Chicago and she'd stay in our home because she liked being in a house. And, we had all these kids and it was
Mhm.
fun. And you had some of everybody at the house. And I remember when Reagan went in and killed the president.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
I grew up with Maurice Bishop.
Mhm.
I grew up with so many people I knew who were getting killed,
Mhm.
who were standing for justice, who wanted to feed their people.
Mhm.
Um, who wanted fairness. I remember Castro, who we knew, who told President Chavez, "Watch what you eat
Mhm.
because they can get you through your food."
Right.
I mean, so honestly, I want to get to a place where we can speak freely. I
Mhm.
want to get to a place where we have democracy. I'm willing to work to get there. That's why I don't want people. I'm with you. It's Dr. King and James Bevel and C.T. Vivian and Reverend and all these people went door to door
Mhm.
talking to James Lawson,
Yeah.
went door to door. It was unsexy. And if you look at the aerial shots of these marches, the Selma to Montgomery March and the March on Washington were the biggest crowds he spoke to, and the anti-war march, I think in 67.
Right.
Every other march, it was a few people.
Right. Right.
It was, in furtherance of your point. But
But in,
I want to get back to
furthering yours, I want to say one thing, and I'll stop. I don't want to dominate for sure.
because I
But
only have
I'm
2 minutes.
currently reading "To Die for the People," and this was written by Huey Newton,
Mhm.
and and
Who we
it
knew.
places me in mind of your and you're my dear sister friend. It places me in mind of the unique sacrifice that had to be made for the civil rights warriors and their families.
Yeah.
And it places you in a unique personal history that honestly was devoid of any sense that free speech comes without consequence. And so I agree with you. Free speech often comes with great consequence.
Yeah.
But when has it not? It came with consequence to Jesus of Nazareth.
But
Why
but
should it not come of consequence
but,
to us? It
but
came to
I'm
consequence to
saying
Moses.
what I'm saying
And
is he was our example. So I'm saying, yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
but
So
I'm
I'm
saying
saying,
to
yeah,
all of the people who will stop for a moment and go, I want freedom, but I don't want to get hurt for freedom. Freedom hurts.
yeah,
Freedom to
freedom
fight for
ain't
freedom
free.
is to take a chance. But
Freedom ain't free. It ain't free.
freedom is not free.
No,
But
no,
you're not
no. I didn't
fighting
say,
for your life.
I, I
Your daily breathing in and out, that's between you and God,
yeah.
you
Well,
know.
see,
But
I
you're
did.
fighting for the future
I
of
didn't
who your
say it
children,
isn't free.
grandchildren have.
I
Right.
didn't say it isn't. I said it ain't. It ain't
Mm,
free. It
you're right.
ain't. It ain't. It ain't.
Oh,
And you're not gonna ride to freedom on Pharaoh's chariot. My father
no,
said.
you are not.
So
That's
it
right.
was like everybody
Right.
stop.
Yeah.
You are going this. I told a friend of mine who said at one point she looked at my mother and she said, "Ooh, I want what she's got. I want that life." I said, "Are you sure?" I said that real estate, that rent is real high, and the mortgage is even costlier.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
don't think you really want that. You don't want to pay the price. You really don't.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So everybody stop. If you want freedom of speech, if you want all of this, if you really want America, you got to fight for it. See,
Mhm.
that's why I can't wait to see Ken Burns' special, his 12-part series on the American Revolution. It was bloody. It was painful.
Mhm.
It cost. The Civil War was bloody. It was
Mhm.
painful. But you know what? The, the question has been asked of you, Attorney O'Neill. Where do we go from here? He, he wants to hear some more facts from you. He said, "We see what's happening,
Mhm.
but what's motivating it? I'm putting it up here. Interesting that building was up for foreclosure because people don't know that story,
Right.
right?"
Right. Yeah. and the natural corruption that was in there. I want to say thank you so much to Aaliyah, your words, and Cynthia, your words. Just absolutely brings us to a level that I think we need to be talking at. We need to understand that you do take risks to make the world better for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren.
Mhm.
You make the world, you take risks to make the world better for people you'll never meet, and
Yes.
and that is a very high calling. I also think, talking about hopefulness and talking about building trust, going door to door, that is what we really need to be doing. I'm going to be at the No Kings March on Saturday, but that is one big, very low. I mean, yes, some people will be taking a risk, but I live in Nashville. I'm old, I'm white. I am not actually taking a big risk to go down to the courthouse at Nashville and build the crowd and be there, to say, yes, I also don't want kings in this country. I want
Wait.
elect-
You didn't see Mrs. Brockman, this lovely white lady, who
Oh,
was
that's
the
true. I did
WG.
see the video.
Wait a
for-
minute, the
Right.
WGN producer, who they
Yeah.
knocked on the ground and had on the ground and put her in handcuffs or zip ties. And
Yeah.
she said, "Wait a minute," over her shoulder, "Tell everybody they're taking me in."
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That
just,
you're right. You're absolutely
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
I just had to say
That's
that.
true.
I had to
I
speak up
mean,
for my
and
white sister who got,
yeah.
who was trying to
And
do her job.
but yeah, so I'm going to do that. But the other thing that I think is really important for us to do is we do need to become better organized. I think citizens, I think people, residents of this country need to understand the Democratic Party is not going to save us. They are fractured. They do not agree with one another. The people in the Democratic Party who have an actual agenda that lifts people up, that gets people excited, are the very people in the party. I'm talking to the politicians, candidates and elected officials. Those are the very ones that are being squashed, that the corporate Democrats are doing their very best to eliminate from the party. That party, the Democratic Party, they're fighting with each other, and the good people are being squashed, and they're not coming to save us. What we need to be doing is we need to find a group that you can work with. It may be your faith community. It may be a women's organization. It may be, I mean, heck, it might be a professional organization. Find a group that you can work with, and then you know what you want to do? Work out how that group can build trust with other like-minded groups, so that we don't keep siloed in our little places. We need to be communicating with one another. We need to be talking to one another. If Remix Way in Nashville, which is an organization set up to help immigrants who are being brutalized by DHS and ICE here in Nashville, when they reach out to my church, right, and my church responds, we are building trust.
Yes.
Right. And then when my church needs to reach out to this immigrant rights organization, I know they will respond. We need to begin building that carefully and slowly. And here's the story, a very inspiring story I just heard a while ago. For the past 10 years, and I know it's a long time, and this is that's the piece that's hard to hear. For the past 10 years, progressive organizations in South Korea have been organizing. They have been reaching out beyond their own boundaries, each group, and they've been networking together and building trust and really understanding the challenges to democracy and their efforts to build democracy in the country. And they had a military problem back years ago. I don't really know all the ins and outs of the history of South Korea, but they have had a wobbly democracy, and it's been difficult. That's been for the past 10 years. You remember recently that President, I believe his name is President Soon declared martial law in the country of South Korea. All right, here's the story. It's 27 hours. It's like 11. I'm getting the dates, the times exactly. It was like 11:30 in the morning on day one. From that until 12:22 on the second day. Within that period of time, the unions came together and called a general strike, and the civil society organizations called a general strike. I mean, people not in unions stayed home, refused to go shop. Didn't All they wanted to do was be in communion with one another to say this cannot stand. And within 3 days, that president had been arrested. Martial law had been dismissed. So we can do that. But when the story was told, when I heard it, the emphasis was on the fact that they spent 10 years building trust with one another. So they knew. So when martial law was declared, you had the heads of these organizations calling one another up. It's like a ton of red lines, those red phones used to be in, calling each other. What are we going to do? Is this the time for a general strike? How are you going to do it? What are the logistics around it? What's the protocol? Who's going to do what? And what? You had to have that kind of trust with one another and willingness to work together. And this is not for the glory of any one person of
That's
any
right.
one of these organizations. And it worked.
And John,
they're still working on their democracy. It's not perfect. But
right.
The point is, to me, that's what we need to be doing.
And John Holloman, that is for you. And it's for all of us. Because, I mean, I saw Attorney Terry O'Neill. That was really the thrust of your presidency. I mean, you were building, she was Dr. Amar, going from, if she had to dip into the PUSH convention, the Rainbow Convention for 2 days, she was literally leaving our convention going to hers.
Yeah.
Because she said, no, I'm here. We need to be here. I'm here. And, and I went to my now events because she said, no, we need to be here for each other, with each other. I literally have 2 minutes. I have 2 minutes. And so 1 minute for you, Dr. Amar, 1 minute for Terry O'Neill, and then I'm going to close up and get us out of here.
I'm going to use my 1 minute to add to Terry's story. So citizens also blockaded the stairs and entrances at the South Korean National Assembly in Seoul as soon as the leader said, hey, I'm going to take over, there's going to have to be martial law. People came out. And so I join you. I think that we're saying the same thing. Get moving, get motivated.
Yes.
If you got to start it out at an individual level, talking to your neighbors, saying, what do we do? And then you guys decide, hey, let's find an organization that we can be with. Wunderbar, right?
Right.
If you don't wind up joining an organization, if your ideas are maybe a little different in some way, maybe you start something. Maybe you are the person that creates the bridge. The thing is, don't capitulate. Don't stop yourself. Don't silence yourself. And for the love of God, when you see the madness, don't join in.
Yes.
Attorney Terry O'Neill.
I want to build on that. I think that's absolutely brilliant, Dr. Leah Amar. Here's what to do. If you're going to go to the No Kings March, go there and talk to people and ask them if they're engaged in organizations. Talk to them about their organizations. Maybe you can join their organization. Maybe you don't like this one. Maybe you want another one. Talk to people about starting your own organization if you want to do it. Go to the march. It's a one-day thing. Make it not just a one-day thing. Make it your foundation for inspiration, and then put the hard work behind it.
At the end of the day, the power is with you. Really, people have the power. We really, really do. And the oligarchs are afraid of us seizing our power. That is why they make us afraid of each other. That is why these elected officials and people who would be in public life are frightened, because we might find out something about their personal lives that offends us. If you want perfection, be perfect yourself. Okay? Let that go. You can't tell me anything about anyone and their personal lives. I don't care what it is, money they have, don't have. I don't care. If you haven't taken it from anyone, I do not care. What I don't want a perfect servant. I want a present one. That's all I ask you to do. What you do and who you've been doing it with, I have nothing to do with it. I don't care. And you shouldn't care either. Just stop it. And now start it. Get involved. Because when we decide, oh my goodness, it starts with you. It starts with you. You're the one. You are the one you're waiting for. You're it. Duck, duck, goose. Remember that one? You got tapped and you had to run around that circle. Well, it's your turn.
I like that.
Get to work. That's all I can tell you. That's why this time is an exciting time. Because for all the people who said that we were conspiracy mongers, well, guess what? Now you're beginning to see what was up under the covers.
Mhm.
Good for you. Now we can all grow up. How about that part?
Mhm.
People exchange money in politics. Yeah, they do. If it doesn't hurt you, don't worry about it. But if people are doing things that hurt the people, the American people and people around the world, then that's a problem. And that's what you should be concerned about, not someone's personal life, not their money. And you should not feel that you're too broke to run for office. That's shameful. You know what? Get out there and organize some people. You'd be surprised at what you can do. Reverend Jackson made history with no money, but he had a mandate from the people. And we passed around a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket and raised money where we could, and jumped in the car with the with the press who had expense accounts, and they wrote about it. They said this is the craziest campaign we've ever seen. We've never seen anything like this. But we went to the auditorium, and it held 1,000 people, but 10,000 people were outside. Oh, we went to Portland, and there were 100,000 people in the stadium. What is going on? My father would call, and he would tell me almost breathlessly, something's changing out here. God bless him. And something has changed out here. Now you be the change that you're waiting for. Stop waiting. Get involved. Get involved. And keep hope alive. Sometimes that's all you have to hold on to, and that is all you need. Keep it alive and get busy. All power is with the people. Just make sure you're standing on God and you're going to be all right. I'm Santita Jackson, Dr. Alia Amar, Attorney Terry O'Neill. Love you all. What a wonderful conversation. God bless you, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.